comfortable because I'm propped up against the pulpit while I'm doing this, and sometimes you can see the beauty of the church in the background, and sometimes you've just got my shoulders, and that's a pity, really. But we'll show some pictures of St. Michael's as we go along in this program. It was my wife's favourite church. She was very active in it, and sadly she departed from us about 3 years ago, and we had a Requiem Mass here, and it was a magnificent occasion, a quite wonderful service. But mostly, the church was lit up by flowers, wonderful, wonderful flowers. And here are just a little look at some of them before we go to our next artist, and that is the Lewis Singers. The Lewis Singers, directed by Nick Houghton, who is the director of music here and plays the organ each Sunday, but also organises magnificent concerts in this church, really worthwhile coming to. There was an organist before him who also sadly passed away called Don Bishop, who was still playing the organ at age 90 for the Lewis Old Grammar School, who hold their assemblies in this church. And Don could make that organ sing, and it's good to now that we've got Nick to follow on, because he makes it sing as well. So let's listen to some of the music that he directs with the Lewis Singers.
Yes, chance to see. I'm actually pulling it out a little bit. Okay, once again. Tomorrow, straight in. Tomorrow, 1, 2, 3.
Tomorrow shall be my dancing day. I put my true love.
Okay, dancing day, later. Dancing day. Okay, once again. Tomorrow, 2, 3, 4.
Tomorrow shall be my dancing day. I put my true love.
That was perfect. That was the first time. Tomorrow, second verse. What are the words? Then was I born. 1, 2, 3.
Then was I born of the virgin pure. Of her I took flesh is of stars. Thus was I knit to that angel to call my true love to my dancing. Oh my love, oh my love, my love, my love, this have I done for my true love.
Some of you who are new to Mirador may be slightly bemused but about Sir Genry and Edward Stick. Here's Edward Stick in all his finery, although when he's in mufti he looks a bit rawer than that, made of pure wood. Edward Stick is my stick that I use when I walk around the Priory. I have Parkinson's, and there are a number of other worthy people who have Parkinson's: Billy Connolly, Michael J. Fox, Kid Jensen, the Radio 1 DJ in the 70s and the 80s, and Neil Diamond declared that he got it the other day too. There are a number, and of course Muhammad Ali was probably the most famous person to have it. So it strikes the very famous, except that it struck me, and I'm not very famous at all. But I think one of the things that you have to do is to keep going. You have to keep a good sense of humour, a good determination to do things. That's why you've got this awful television program. And that way, there is a way towards helping people with Parkinson's. There is another way that we've discovered, and that is that there's something in champagne that helps with Parkinson's. And I have started to try and persuade the NHS that they should give us Dom Perignon on prescription. Haven't got very far yet, but write to them and say, champagne for Hayes, help with Parkinson's. Okay, here we go, again with Dandelion Charm.
And he said, sing, canary, sing. If you're good, then I might let you in to the passion that burns in my heart. That's just the start, but I won't give you anything. Sing, canary, sing. If you're good, then I might let you in to the passion that burns deep within. Then I'll begin to strip you of everything. He said, sing, canary, sing. If you're good, then I might let you in to the passion that burns in my heart. That's just the start, but I won't give you anything.
Sing, canary, sing. My hatred caress caresses your skin.
I'm going to go back to another song from the Lewis Singers now before we finish off with Ivan. And I should tell you about this church. Tom Paine was married in this church, and lots of people say, who's Tom Paine? Not well known here, although very well known in the United States, because he actually is credited with starting the American Revolution. He was here as a customs agent, he was married in this church, and wrote something called The Rights of Man in Lewis, and then went off to the United States and practiced it, and they loved it. Bill Bryson, the historian, says that Tom Paine coined the term, the United States, and also that he said we should be governed, when we were actually governed by royalty at that particular time, that there should be a place called the House of Commons. Well, those are two names that ring a bell, aren't they? And Tom Paine was married here. I don't think he's a very nice man, actually, but nonetheless, a very powerful man. And he managed to get things going so that there was indeed a revolution of several sorts in both the UK and in the US. Anyway, we're going to the Lewis Singers now, and I hope you enjoy. I've been a journalist for most of my life. I've been in Northern Ireland for 15 years at the height of the Troubles. I went to Kosovo and spent a couple of years, and in Sarajevo for a year, and in Bucharest for a year in Romania. I've been to Russia. I've been all over practicing journalism and training journalists. So I'm a bit of a wanderer, and you meet awfully nice people when you're going around the world. And two of the nicest were Mary and Clive Shorthouse, who lived in Lewis but now live in New Haven. And Clive really is one of the most eccentric people I've ever come across. I mean, he's just lovable. And the family have looked after me for a good many years, and very kind they are. But Clive and I once had a cake in our care for a raffle, and we decided to try it, and we scoffed the whole lot, only to be told by the lady who had donated the cake that she would want to see the thing raffled, so we had to scout around Lewis looking for a cake that looked vaguely like the one that we'd scoffed, and we couldn't remember really what it was like. But anyway, that's Clive. But the one thing that Clive and Mary do have is they have 3 very talented daughters. Fleur is a storyteller, a professional storyteller, a very good one. Charlotte is a classical singer, and Claire, with John, is Dandelion Charm. So there you are. That is the Shorthouse family. They're almost like the Von Trapps. Let's get on with it, and now let's hear the last word from Yeva.
Cister peres bարձրացնում Տալիս ես թևեր, որ թրջեմ ինչպես արծիվը Գութը քո հավերժ է Տեր Սերը քո մեծ անսահման է
down for this last little bit, but after all, it is church, isn't it? So just to end this evening's musical extravaganza, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's not something we will do regularly, but we're going to do it from time to time because there's a lot of musical talent in this. So, yeah, just to say goodbye, and I'm glad that you joined us. By the way, this is Edward Stick in mufti. For those who haven't followed Edward Stick and Sir Genery. Sir Genery, by the way, I don't think I explained earlier, is the sculpture of a medieval helmet of a knight that fought in the Battle of Lewes in 1264. And we've named him Genery, or Sir Genery, because in those days the name John and Henry were prevalent, so we've combined them to call him Genery. He's got his own Facebook page, he's got his own fan club, and he presents his own programme on Mirador. So I hope that you'll visit Sir Genery and perhaps understand who he is, because he talks regularly about Lewis history to Edward Stick. Edward Stick, Esquire. There he is. Okay, well that's it. One thing I can now depart. I'm going to put my hat back on. Feel almost undressed without it. I'll say cheerio. Toodle pip.